Maddie and Steve, they set the stage. From classic bouts to the modern age. Every slam, every story, every legacy comes alive with wrestling pedigree. So tune on in, the spotlight's bright. The ring is ready on this podcast night. It's wrestling pedigree.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Wrestling Pedigree Podcast. I'm your co-host, Matty, and as usual with me, I have the last real general manager of MWL, the man that is going to ruin prediction wrestling, Steve Hawkins. How are you, sir?
Oh, man. Just like every other week, it has been a week.
By the way, that t-shirt will be available next week.
It's going to be a week.
I'm not joking. It's going to be a week until we see it's been a week. It's just us two tonight, but my God, what a great week we've had on Wrestling Pedigree. Great feedback on our previous episode. And really great feedback from all the episodes we've done for the last 6 or 7 months. And we're going to keep continuing going strong. And this week, or this month, is WrestleMania month. And we're not going to talk about today's product because we actually want to be positive. So although you can see on social media, that's the shit I've been saying. So this week, we're talking about underrated WrestleManias and WrestleMania moments. So sleeper pay-per-views, which is actually quite a lot. You'd be surprised when you look at them, and I think me and Steve will probably have an agreement on this.
Oh yeah.
So we have 14 to look at, and we have a couple to ourselves. So I'm intrigued, Steve. Which one? Just name one that you have on your list that you think is a underrated WrestleMania or a WrestleMania moment.
I am going to start it off with kind of a controversial pick. I know a lot of people aren't going to agree with this. WrestleMania 36. The only ever WrestleMania with no crowd.
Actually, that was on my list.
Ooh.
That was on my list.
Now see, the reason I put this, there was no crowd. We were during the COVID era.
Mm-hmm.
This was literally like 3 weeks after everything had been shut down. They did what they could given the circumstances. Was it the best WrestleMania that we have ever seen? No. But we got things like the Boneyard match, which was fucking fantastic.
Hell
and
yeah.
Speaking of fantastic, we got the Firefly Funhouse. That was a mind fuck of a match. And honestly, it was one of my favorite matches of all time. And yeah, we got a few really, really shitty matches in there. But like I said, they did what they could, given the restrictions, given the circumstances. This was the first ever WrestleMania to be a 2-night WrestleMania.
Yes.
Because they had learned from the WrestleManias in the couple of years before, we can't put 8, 10, 12 matches on this one card. People are going to hate us. Like, I think it was WrestleMania 35 that ran like all fucking day.
Yeah.
I love wrestling. I love wrestling more than I love just about anything else. After 5 hours, I was going, fuck this. I want to go to bed. So turning it into a 2-night spectacle was exactly what it needed. And I am so glad that they're keeping up with that tradition, that they're making every WrestleMania 2 nights. Because now it's not just WrestleMania Sunday, it's WrestleMania weekend.
Yeah. It's so I had the same. Obviously, I had the same as you. It was on my list. And you mentioned the Boneyard match, which was Undertaker's last match.
Yes.
CM Punk doesn't like the word, but it was cinema.
It was.
You mentioned the Firefly Funhouse match. That was once again cinema and really, really good because there's no crowd, so you can make it like we're watching it. I still cannot take the image of John Cena in an NWO shirt. But also, you got matches like Kevin Owens versus Seth Rollins.
Mm-hmm.
You have, like you said, there were some shitty matches. So Braun Strowman versus Goldberg for the title. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then you got Becky Lynch versus Shayna Baszler. You got John Morrison versus Kofi Kingston for the versus Jimmy Uso for the tag team titles in a ladder match, just one each.
Mm-hmm.
Drew beating Brock, Otis versus Ziggler, and Edge versus Orton in the last man standing, and also Flair versus Ripley.
Which, as much as I can't stand Charlotte Flair, and you know that very well, you know how much I cannot stand that woman.
You say that, but underneath you love.
That match was better than it should have been.
Oh yeah.
The ending didn't really make sense to me. Putting Charlotte over didn't make sense to me. But the match itself, that was the longest match of the 2 nights. The longest actual match, not counting the Boneyard match.
It just felt weird. Obviously, there was no crowd.
Yeah.
When it was KO versus Seth, and KO is diving off onto Seth on the table, I just felt weird because you're like, yeah, they should cheer, but there's no one in the performance center.
Right.
And it's kind of weird now that we watch NXT and the only WrestleMania being in that performance center is just crazy.
Mm-hmm.
It's high. I find it highly underrated because it's so entertaining and unique. I think that's the word, unique. Because it will never happen again. Go touch wood. It will never happen again.
No, and what I wrote on my paper here, creative, and I underlined it 3 times because that's exactly what they were, and that's what they had to be. And at that point, that's what the wrestling world needed. We needed to be entertained, and WWE came through with it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And while everywhere else was not working or not producing any television, WWE, like they did in 2001 with the 9/11 and whatever tragic thing they did, they literally just showed up and by God, they entertain us for, what was it, 6 months, 7 months on pandemic before they allowed little blobs of fans in.
Yeah, it was something like that.
And yeah, I loved it. Lewis, my favorite WrestleMania match of all time has to be the Street versus Career, but WrestleMania 26. HBK versus Undertaker. That match in my eyes was incredible, and in my opinion, will not be topped. Ooh.
Now, I'll agree with you that HBK versus Undertaker was the WrestleMania match. However, I'm going to go WrestleMania 25. I think that match just squeaked out a little bit ahead of 26.
So WrestleMania 25 is actually on my list.
You put that as underrated?
I think the whole card was underrated.
No, for fuck's sake, Natty.
No, I'm thinking. Well, for one, the reason why I think it's underrated because it was a really good card. It just was not in the right order. They had 10 or 12 matches and they fucking put the greatest match that would have been on like 5th or 5th or something like that. Where if you'd put on 10th or 11th, it would have been better.
Yeah,
That is Undertaker and Shawn Michaels.
Now, if that was split into a 2-night WrestleMania, I think that match would have been the main event of night 1.
Yeah, and then you'll have the triple threat matches night 2.
Yeah,
but then the matches in that on that card was not that bad. I mean, the Money in the Bank, as I did have it back then, CM Punk winning it, Jericho versus Legends, Steamboat just showing up everybody. Like I said, the Edge versus Orton versus Big Show World Heavyweight title match, and then you had Orton versus Triple H. That's what some of the ones that stand out, but I think that's underrated because everyone talks about the greatest match of WrestleMania, which it is, but the undercard wasn't that bad.
It really wasn't, but that pay-per-view gets so highly rated purely because of that match. And that's why I don't think that is an underrated WrestleMania.
What else on your list then is underrated?
I'm so glad you asked. WrestleMania 33.
Okay. That's the one just after Texas.
Yep. Like that. First off, that stage, that is the best WrestleMania stage we have ever had.
Is that the roller
coaster?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, the roller coaster. Yeah.
Brock versus Goldberg. No, that was a lot better than it should have been. I mean, it did justice to end their feud. They're at that point 13-year feud.
You have to fight Brock for that. I think that was more Brock than Goldberg.
Yeah. That Raw Women's title match, such great storytelling in that match. You know, you had Bayley, Charlotte, Sasha, all teaming up to try to get rid of Nia.
Yeah.
And then turning on each other. It was just it was such a good match. And purely because of that, I think WrestleMania 33 is underrated.
It is underrated, but do you know how long the fucking show was?
It was long.
It was long. It was 7 hours.
Yeah.
Which is up there with Owens.
Yeah.
2 hours on the pre-show, which is usual, and then a 5-hour show on the main card. I agree with you. That is actually underrated because it was a banger. It was a banger. I forgot about the Fatal 4-Way. But there's a match on there that is underrated, which is AJ Styles versus Shane.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Bits of man shitting on this, but KO versus Jericho for the US title.
I enjoyed that match. I mean, I always enjoy Jericho. I always enjoy Owens. And the chemistry that they had against each other, it's rare.
It is rare. It's very rare. This is going to be good. I want to know your clip. You mentioned WrestleMania 33 and it's underrated, and I agree with you on that. It's actually underrated, but let's talk about moments. John Cena and Nikki Bella versus Miz and Maurice. and John Cena proposing to Nikki after.
Yeah.
That worked out well, didn't it?
Oh yeah, that worked out fantastic.
Oh yeah, that worked out really well. Oh man, but let's not glue over what like I mentioned 25 and undercard was really underrated, and you said it's the most replayed. WrestleMania 33 is replayed for one of the most biggest returns ever, and that is the Hardy Boys returning.
Yep.
It's one hell of a moment now, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. That I think that would be one of the biggest WrestleMania moments of all time.
Oh yeah, absolutely agree. But would you say the New Day were the best hosts?
Oh yeah. We'll see how Cena does this year, but I don't think he's going to be able to touch the New Day.
I'm intrigued now. So we had pandemic WrestleMania. We had one of the best WrestleMania stages, and I think one of the best undercards they have, the best card they had in a long while. I'm intrigued what you have next.
WrestleMania 28.
Oh,
It's a WrestleMania that really doesn't get talked about a lot, but it had so many iconic moments, so many iconic matches. Like the match between Triple H and The Undertaker, the end of an era.
Hell in a Cell.
It was iconic, to say the least.
I put this on our social media page, especially on Facebook. I recommend people to read this, but that match is one of my favorite matches of WrestleMania. Well, just any wrestling really. I'm a sucker for storytelling. Everyone knows this. That is the perfect storytelling match in wrestling.
Oh yeah.
So much.
Anybody that's in MWL, they see the stories that I write. They know how much I love storytelling.
Exactly, and just the emotions on all three of them, especially Sean as a referee. No referee should be that emotional. No, it's just, especially with this the kick out of two after the sweet chin music and the pedigree, and Sean's in the corner crying his eyes out. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. And I mean, on top of that, we had the once in a lifetime match between John Cena and The Rock. That worked out so well that they had to go back on it being once in a lifetime and redo it the next year.
Yes, but the music, the social media, that's everything in that main event made it so fucking amazing.
Mm-hmm.
To this day, I still listen to Wild Ones and I still think of Miami. I still think of when I listen to MGK, and which is not a lot. It's literally that Invisible song. Even though I love Tommy Invisible, that song is so fucking amazing. And oh man, no one take a thing out of the Rock, but yeah, it's just it's the best main event out of the two.
Yep. And I mean that event even started well. I mean, it was just a triple threat tag between the Usos, the Colognes, Epico and Primo, and Justin Gabriel and Tyson Kidd.
That's a banger.
Not anything that should have been a huge match, but it set the stage for the night.
Yes, and then the first match is Sheamus and Daniel Bryan, and how long did that last?
6 seconds?
18 seconds. He kissed AJ Lee, who has got a big match next weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And the brother got fucking broke it. There's a match, actually, on that match, there's no one that is underrated, in my opinion, and people don't talk about it. It's Kane versus Orton.
I mean, Meltzer didn't like that match. I think he gave it 1.5 stars.
Meltzer don't like life.
No.
So, and I always say, fuck Uncle Dave.
But one match that doesn't get the recognition that it deserves was the WWE title match from that night. between CM Punk and Jericho.
Yeah, Jericho said it's not his best match, but it did live up to a lot of expectations, though.
Yeah.
Do you know what the worst match on that card was?
You mean besides Sheamus versus Daniel Bryan?
It was not a bad match. It was just good storytelling. It was the Team Johnny versus Team Teddy.
That was horrible.
I mean, and that includes Kelly and Marina Menounos versus Beth Phoenix and Eve Torres.
Yeah.
And I think in that match, Maria Blesser shot herself. So it tells you a lot of what that 12-man tag was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did not like it because I think after that we had people power.
Yeah.
And I fucking hate people power. Hey Vince, you gotta be really good now. It's gonna be a people power. Fuck John Laurinaitis. I'm gonna have one of mine where I think it's underrated, but it had one of the best pops ever. We're kind of keeping it kind of modern, but WrestleMania 32.
Okay. Yeah.
It doesn't. The big pop I'm on about is obviously when the three legends come out after and that, but to beat up the League of Nations. But to hear Shawn Michaels would come out and he's in his gear, and this is before Saudi, obviously. And then Mick Foley come out, and here comes Stone Cold, and by God, that pop after Austin comes out in Dallas is, I think Dallas, no, Origin, but Texas, but still, that pop was just crazy.
Oh, it was. Yeah, that's a pop that I can still hear ringing in my head.
Oh yeah, and the card wasn't that bad. You had Zack Ryder winning the IC title, which was very underdogish in the ladder match. Jericho versus AJ. Shane versus Undertaker in Hell in a Cell, which had a big moment then. Charlotte versus Sasha Banks versus Becky, which Ric Flair was a bit of a creepy bastard on the side. And I do have Roman versus Triple H. So it was a very underrated card.
Yeah. Yeah, not a bad card at all.
But then you had Shane versus Undertaker. The build up to it was really good because we were not expecting it. I was not. I didn't think I listened to Dirt Sheets then when I was like, shit, Shane's back and he's got to face Undertaker and he's diving off a fucking Hell in a Cell where we all did it on computer games.
Yep.
Shane did it in life. I love that pay-per-view. It's one of the pay-per-views where WrestleMania I could go back and watch it for like continuously and not get bored. But it's underrated because it doesn't get talked about that much because apart from the moment of Shane, it doesn't it was a really good undercard.
It was.
And it deserves so much more praise. Go on, let's give us some more. I know you got a couple more, and I got a couple more, but I'm intrigued now because you gone this way in the 30s. There's got to be one that's gone in the classic way.
Well, the next one I'm going to go with is WrestleMania 24.
Oh, actually, you are right. That is actually really underrated.
Yep. I mean, it gets looked at a lot because of Ric Flair's first retirement. But however, you look at the undercard for that match or for that event. You had the Money in the Bank that was won by Mr. Kennedy, I believe.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
No. Punk won it.
Punk won that one? Okay. The Belfast brawl between Finlay and JBL was so much fun.
I'm so glad you mentioned this, right? So we're big fans of Hornswoggle on this episode.
Yes. We love Dylan here.
We love Hornswoggle. I'm a massive fan of JBL. I love Bradshaw. I would love to have a drink with Bradshaw and pick his mind. When he threw that trash can, I was like, you son of a bitch, that was so good. You fucking saw that like hell. But yeah, carry on. But as soon as you mentioned the Belfast Brawl, I was like, hell, that was a great moment.
I mean, there were only 2 bad matches on that whole card.
Ooh.
And that was Batista versus Umaga and the Playboy Bunny Lumberjill match.
Do you have to say the Playboy one because the wife's near?
No.
Why was that bad? You had Snoop, wasn't it?
It was horrible.
It was horrible. It wasn't their best match.
Like, if I was Dave Meltzer, I wouldn't even give that 1 star. I don't even think I'd give that half a star.
I would have given it 5 stars.
Because boobs.
That just because Maria.
Oh, okay.
Santino was a prick back then, Mike.
Yeah. But Floyd Mayweather versus The Big Show.
Oh, banger.
Perfect. That was perfect. It was exactly what it needed to be. That triple threat match for the WWE title between Cena, Randy Orton, and Triple H. Cinema.
That's underrated. That's the most underrated title match, I think, in WrestleMania for a long while because people don't think about it. They think of, like you said, Ric Flair and the Edge versus Undertaker. People don't talk about that triple threat match that much. They reshowed it recently because of Orton versus Cody, but people do not speak about that match, which they should.
Well, that's because when they're talking about WrestleMania 24, they're talking about Flair's first retirement. They're talking about Taker versus Edge, which that match itself, match of the year candidate. I mean, that was the best match either of them put on that year.
Why was Batista and Umaga not the best match then?
It was just it was clunky. I didn't like the way Batista and Umaga worked together. Umaga needed to be showcased with smaller guys.
Would you say you'd rather watch that match or watch Kane versus Chavo for the ECW title in 11 seconds?
Oh, I think I'd do Kane versus Chavo just because it would only take 11 seconds.
Oh, that's horrible. Oh, this is horrible. I got a good pick, and I think it's underrated. It's in the Arrowhead Pond.
Okay.
So that's Anaheim, California. April 2nd, 2000. WrestleMania 16/2000.
Mm-hmm.
It is the only WrestleMania with one singles match. It had a great card, but it did shit the bed a bit, but I find it underrated because the star power on it, the moments on there a little bit, but it's underrated because if they didn't have that kind of matches, we wouldn't have got WrestleMania 17, which was the greatest WrestleMania of all time, in my opinion.
I will agree with you there.
I mean, you knew WrestleMania 2000 shut the bed when they had on the Sunday Night Heat, Big Boss Man and Bull Buchanan versus Gothladder and D'Lo Brown. However, that tag match from Heat was replayed to go on start of the fucking start of the pay-per-view. And then we had the crazy 15-minute hardcore battle royal.
Yeah.
Do you remember that battle royal? I think it's underrated because it's once in a lifetime you'll see this kind of match because I don't think they did it after this.
No, I don't think they did.
It's understandable the fuck up ending to it.
Yeah.
I think Taz won it and then Hardcore fucked it up. But something happened there and poor JR and King. The only thing I could think of this was the Dudley Boys versus the Hardy Boys versus ENC in a triangle ladder match. God, that was cool, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
One singles match. Can you guess which the single match is?
Oh, I can't remember.
I'll give you a clue. It's female. It was a cat fight with Val Venus as the special guest referee. It was Terry Reynolds versus the cat.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I remember that. Okay.
And I have this on my notes. 5 stars from me. But here's why I think it's underrated, because it had one of the best triple threat matches of all time and unique triple threat matches of all time. And you talked about this quite a bit when we talked about Kurt Angle and Chris Jericho past in the career on previous episodes. Kurt Angle defended both his IC and European title against Benoit and Chris Jericho.
Yeah.
Such a banger, surely, isn't it?
It was.
Here's some big men for you. Rikishi and Kane versus Diaz, which was Road Dogg and X-Pac.
Yep.
That was a bad match, but I would love to know your insight with the Fatal 4-Way main event. Would you class that as underrated? Triple H versus Big Show versus Mick Foley versus The Rock, with each McMahon in the corner.
I wouldn't say it's an underrated match. I honestly thought the match was a little clunky.
Ooh.
But hey, that's just me.
Do you think they overproduced it?
I think it was overproduced. And I think just the number of people that were out there with having a McMahon in each corner, it made it too clunky. It made too much going on at once.
I know I listened to a Summit to Wrestle with this past week. And they said, I think it was with the one with Bradshaw and Conrad, and they said everybody at the WrestleMania 2000, after the show and they were going out for drinks, they were miserable because they thought, what a shit pay-per-view. Which, in my eyes, I'm thankful for, because we got the best WrestleMania in that season.
Yep.
Which I'm hoping it happens this season, because, God, we need a good one next year.
Yeah, we do.
Have you got any more?
I do.
Oh.
I'm gonna throw it back, guys. 1992, WrestleMania 8.
I love that.
You knew one of my old ones was coming.
I knew it, but it has my that whole year. I love 1992 WWF. Because I'm an advocate for fucking Royal Rumble 92.
Yes.
It's so cool.
Now, this WrestleMania has what I think is the most underrated WrestleMania match of all time.
It's in Indiana.
Where was this? This was in Indianapolis.
Yeah.
Bret the Hitman Hart defeating Rowdy Roddy Piper for the Intercontinental Championship. That match was so fucking good, and it's so underrated. Nobody talks about that match.
I agree with you. Absolutely underrated. But is that when the one he is in the sleeper and he puts his feet on the top rope and pushes himself back to get the pin?
Yep.
Yeah, I agree. That is underrated as hell. It is. I know it's classed by many as one of the greatest Intercontinental title matches ever.
Mm-hmm.
But it has WrestleMania that we're talking about highly underrated. Yeah, I totally agree with you on that.
I mean, that the rest of that card, you had Randy Savage defeating Ric Flair for the WWF Championship.
And the crowd was,
and that wasn't even the main event. The main event was fucking Hulk Hogan versus Sid.
Yeah, that was, because WWE fucked up with the Ric Flair versus Hogan and he split them apart.
Yep. But why wouldn't you put the World Championship as the main event? That is your main selling point as a promotion, is we want to get our champion in the main event.
I can't say this.
It
doesn't work for me, brother.
I know exactly what the answer was. Hogan wanted that main event spot, so Vince gave it to him.
Yeah.
And they put Savage versus Flair on 6th. They put that on right before Tatanka versus Rick Martel.
Yeah, I love a bit of Rick Martel. It's the elegance was brilliant.
Yes.
Actually, that is actually an underrated match. I think Tatanka versus Martel.
You can't really call it underrated because it was only 4.5 minutes. Just
because their build is summer. That makes sense? Their build is summer there. It's not like,
and that was, I believe that was toward the beginning of Tatanka's undefeated streak.
Yeah, so they're always, it went along a long time. I think it was like a year or so.
Yeah, I think it was a year and a half until it was until he was defeated by Ludwig Borga.
Yeah, that went well.
Yeah.
I think he's still in prison.
I think Tony's dead.
Oh, well, he doesn't. Well, I wouldn't say he deserves it, but the guy wasn't a better person, especially after that Dark Side of the Ring fucking episode.
Yeah,
he came off like a total prick. But you mentioned that card at WrestleMania 8. Shawn Michaels versus Tito Santana.
Yes.
HBK's first singles Mania match. I think that was his first HBK like Heartbreak Kids era.
Yep.
Like you, Undertaker, Jake the Snake. Undertaker becomes 2-0. You mentioned one of the greatest Intercontinental matches of all time with Bret and Piper. I want to know your view on this because you said this is underrated, so I'm going to hold you to this. The Big Boss Man, Virgil, Slaughter, and Jim Duggan versus the Nasty Boys, the Mountie, and the Reaper Man.
It wasn't a great match. But it was it kind of it gave people a payday.
It did.
That's the important thing. There were a lot of people on this card. There were 10 matches, multiple multi-man matches.
Yeah.
Starting it off with the Bushwhackers versus the Beverly Brothers. So right there, you're giving 5 people a payday because you also have the Genius in there.
Yes, and then you got Money Inc. versus the Natural Disasters.
Yep.
For the titles. Then you have
with the Natural Disasters coming out on top.
Yeah, and then
Yep.
No, it was Disasters, wasn't it?
Yep, they did win, but it was by count out, so they didn't get the titles.
I love the smudge finishes back then.
Yeah.
And then one of my favorite short matches was Owen Hart versus Skinner.
Yep.
And that only lasted
a minute and 36 seconds.
No, that whole but the whole runtime of the pay-per-view was 3 hours. Dead on.
Yep.
Something for everybody to like if you're an AEW fan.
Like our buddy Chris. Hey Ross.
Hello Ross. Here's the thing what Ross said. We already mentioned WrestleMania 25. You said, what about Reign versus JBL for WrestleMania 25? Do you think that was underrated? I was underrated as a retirement match. I think that was his last match of JBL's in WWE.
I think you're right.
But
see, we didn't know at that point that it was going to be his retirement match.
No, but hindsight, obviously, 2020. He put off like the last no, was it 25? So 25 was 2009. Yeah.
Yes.
So that was, so that for him to put over Ray, and obviously the relationship JBL had with Eddie and Bill Warner, I would say it's underrated, but it was a nice touch.
Yeah, it definitely was.
And I kind of like it because it was for the Intercontinental title, and JBL would run his mouth before the ring bell, and then my God, he got his ass whooped for 36 seconds. I call this underrated because obviously no one will ever watch it again because of a certain person on this card. But I say WrestleMania 20.
That is literally my last one.
I love the tagline where it all begins again. It was one of the most stacked cards.
Mm-hmm.
Madison Square Garden. The crowd on this one was really hyped and really hot, especially the Brock Lesnar versus Goldberg. And apart from the main event thing, I think it was quite really good. I thought it was really, really massively underrated as a match card.
I mean, Eddie versus Kurt was epic. It was that easily a 5-star match. The triple threat, iconic. If
so iconic, they did it again the next month.
Yeah. If we didn't get the Benoit tragedy, we would still be actively talking about that match.
Oh yeah, I think that match was literally. I think it'd be replayed more than it obviously can.
Yep. And the closing shots, Eddie and Benoit celebrating with their titles, confetti falling down, picturesque.
It's kind of. I know it sounds really bad, but I really want to do take a picture of that, get a picture of that, and say, and I think WWE will just put "fuck you, WCW" or Turner, because literally that's the two biggest mid cards they had, and WWE turned them into world champs.
Mm-hmm. I mean that card though, like Meltzer didn't like that card. Most of the card he gave less than 2 stars.
That's because it was an MSG and not the Tokyo Dome.
That's true. But Jericho versus Christian, that was a fun match.
Yeah, and that was a heel traditional turn.
Yep.
I mean,
and Rock and Sock versus Evolution in a handicap match. It was amazing. It was fun. That's exactly what it needed to be.
That match, the handicap match, I could still see Ric Flair doing his people's elbow, and he's strutting, and then a Rock kicks up. For me, it's two perfect face expressions from both of them.
Yep,
I loved it, and with WrestleMania 20 now, you got Cena obviously with the Big Show going everywhere with the US title. RVD and Booker T, who was a really good tag team champions on at the time, versus Cade and Murdoch versus La Resistance versus the Dudley Boys. I fucking hated the La Resistance.
Yeah,
but they were one of the best heel tag teams at this time.
They really were.
Would you say Trish Hilton was one of the best words?
Oh yeah, I don't think that was. I don't think that was on anybody's bingo card.
It definitely went on mine. And then when she was giving Christian the tongues, I was like, oh my God, who knew? Who knew? Like in 21 years later, he's doing wrestlers or other people's moms.
And trying to be their dads, which reminds me, Did you see the picture of him, Jericho, and Copeland with Daniel Benoit? Or not David
This
Benoit.
David Benoit. This was shared on the Facebook, and I was just thinking, Team Canada, new Team Canada 4.0.
You could see Christian trying so hard not to slip into his gimmick.
Yeah, and you can see Chris Jericho looking at him like, "Well, yeah, you dare." And it's such a unique picture and moment where three great Canadians wrestlers, and I know he was a massively stupid prick for doing it, but a legacy of another one. It's just crazy. That picture was so eye opening. The guy David can't help what his parents done, like his dad did. He can't help looking like his dad. So, but it's just crazy that picture. I hope he keeps hold of that picture because it should help him, I think. And Chris Jericho is a massive advocate for him anyway.
Yeah.
Talking of something which should have been killed from the match card, Tori Wilson and Sable versus Stacy Kleber and Miss Jackie.
Oh my god. I tried to forget about that match.
I'm not trying to forget about that match because I like watching it, but it was just you could tell they did not give a flying fuck about the women's division at this.
Yep.
I mean, it's just really bad. However, the next match was the Cruiserweight Open.
Yes, and that Cruiserweight Open was fantastic.
It had some of the best, including Ultimo Dragon coming out tripping himself over. It had the best cruiserweights at the time, in my opinion, including Shannon Moore and Jamie Noble and fuck Billy Kidman, Nunzio, Rey Mysterio, Tajiri. But Chavo for me was just unbelievable. He was.
I mean, Chavo. I think Chavo came out of Eddie's shadow.
Well, he had to because Eddie was on top.
Yeah. But Chavo tried so hard to come out of Eddie's shadow, and I think that Cruiserweight Open, I think that's what got him back into the light.
Would you do you think his dad helped? Was it dad? The Chavo Classic?
Yeah. I think Chavo Classic did help him come out of Eddie's shadow.
Here's the one for you. I like this match. Victoria versus Molly Holly, Women's Championship. If Molly lost, she lose her hair, which she did.
Yes, she did.
I thought this was really good. I think it was my second versus hair match I've seen in current WWE.
I mean, those Molly Holly and Victoria are two women who were just so underrated. Like,
yeah,
I enjoyed watching most of their matches.
I actually think if they were today, I think they'll be so over like Rover.
Oh, absolutely.
Obviously, Molly Holly is just totally gifted, and she's kind of up there with like a bit of a comparison, but I say with like Kendall Gray. However, if we have Victoria, how she was then to now, holy shit, Victoria versus Rhea Ripley.
Oh. Only if Victoria gets to keep her All the Things She Said theme.
Yes, which is actually available on WWE 2K26.
Nice.
Nice plug. I'm going through this card because I think it's underrated. Rikishi and Sky 2 Hottie versus APA versus the Basham Brothers versus the world's greatest tag team, which I know you're an advocate for.
Oh, I love Shelton and Charlie.
Oh yeah, they're good.
Like coming from the amateur wrestling background that they both did, just being able to use that in transition to Team Angle and then after Team Angle as the world's greatest tag team, though one of my favorite tag teams of all time.
Would you rather have the Basham brothers or the Bella twins?
The Bashams.
Yeah, I would have. I'd rather have Doug and Danny.
Yeah.
These they could put people over. 4 hours and 45 minutes this pay-per-view, which I thought was really, really good for a WrestleMania. But Undertaker first returning as the dead man against Kane, for me, it doesn't get replayed as much because I think it's so underrated. Because you had Paul Bearer come out, you had the Droids come out.
Yep.
Kane in denial. I thought it was brilliant. All right. Have you got a couple more? I know you
do not.
I know you do not.
I do not.
Oh.
None that I've prepared, at least. I prepared 6 and you took one of them.
Oh, you got about one more on there.
No.
All right, I'll go give you one more, which I know is gonna piss you off. The reason why I think it's underrated is because it's unique. However, I know you got to poke holes in it. Right. WrestleMania 4.
You know, I was thinking WrestleMania 4.
Unfortunately, it was at the Trump Plaza.
Yeah, fuck Trump.
Yeah. However,
86-47.
The kickoff match was the dark match, obviously. It was Bad News Brown winning a 20-man Battle Royal.
You mean soon-to-be Hall of Famer Bad News Brown?
Yeah, so you betrayed one of your fondest wrestler, Brett, to do that.
Yeah.
But I think the card was quite underrated. DiBiase versus Jim Duggan, Don Morocco versus Dino Bravo, which he has some issues, obviously, but I think if Bravo had his nose clear, I think he would have been phenomenal.
Yeah.
Steamboat versus Valentine, Savage versus Butch Reed, which I think is a really good match. I mean, Butch Reed could put over anyone.
Oh, yeah.
One Man Gang versus Bam Bam.
2 absolutely fantastic big men.
Absolutely. And obviously, Jake the Snake versus Britt Rude, which was a double count out anyway. Or time limit draw, so everybody
Time limit draw.
But the other matches, Ultimate Warrior versus Hercules. Brutus the fucking Barber Beefcake versus Honky Tonk Man. Strike Force versus Demolition. I mean, there's a lot of Hall of Famers in this.
Yeah.
I totally agree with this one. Don Morocco and Mr. Fuji were a great pair. Absolutely on that.
Yep.
In the ring and beyond the ring, I think, in the bar. Randy Savage versus Ted DiBiase in the final is really, really good, I thought.
Yeah, that was such a good match.
I think it's underrated because I think they put the seed there for what was to come next year.
Yep.
Which was the collision of the mega powers.
Yep.
Is there a moment in WrestleMania that is underrated and that you can think of quickly that you think that doesn't get talked as much? Because I know you're for WrestleMania.
Talking just WrestleMania 4?
No, just WrestleMania.
None that are jumping into my head right away. Thanks for putting me on the spot, Maddie.
You're welcome. I do that very well. Here's the thing for you. Rick Martel hasn't gone in the Hall of Fame yet. Hopefully he does one day. He and Tina Santana were great parents and adversaries. Do you think it's credible that someone like Rick Martel ate in the Hall of Fame?
Absolutely. I mean, Rick Martel should have gone in years ago. And
Oh,
I
yeah.
think at this point he's kind of washed his hands of the wrestling business. I mean, I think he just resurfaced maybe a couple of months ago. Hunter, if you're watching, you need to put Rick Martel in.
Oh, absolutely. Well, him and Owen, but Owen will.
Owen not going in is purely Martha.
Yes. I think Mark Henry stated that when he did his Hall of Fame speech.
Yeah. And now that Oj and Athena are older, Martha has kind of made it very clear to them, under no circumstances is your father to go into the WWE Hall of Fame.
Absolutely. I got one WrestleMania moment that doesn't get talked about as much, but I really want your opinion on this. I talked about WrestleMania 32. It was during the League of Nations versus Legends segment, and the crowd absolutely erupts when Heath Slater gets destroyed. In a tiny moment, the crowd actually cheered more for Heath Slater than the Legends.
Yep.
Do you remember he got keys?
Oh yeah, Heath was over.
He was over like hell. I just thought that was so underrated because he was like, oh, I think it was him and Rhino.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought anything that he got kids, especially at WrestleMania, that is so underrated.
Yep. Now, for me, I think one of the most underrated moments, now that my brain's going and I'm not put on the spot, Owen Hart defeating Bret Hart WrestleMania 10 right before Bret Hart goes and wins the championship.
Yes, I think you mentioned this before because I know that's one of your favorite matches.
Mm-hmm.
But I totally agree with you that people don't talk about that as much because it's so freaking outstanding, that match and that moment where he finally beat his brother, and then obviously his brother bloody goes on to win the title. But it's such a great moment for not just the underdog, because he was the underdog.
Yeah.
But just the wrestling match is just unbelievable.
It was, and I really think Vince dropped the ball with that, with not putting it into a program with Owen eventually coming out the WWF Championship.
Oh, you think they should have had a title match?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Would you have beat him? Would you have Owen going over Bret?
I would have made it so it was a series. It wasn't just going to be a one-off match. Like, I would have had Bret win just by the skin of his teeth until finally Owen gets the win, gets the title.
I want to just quickly, before we end the show, I want to talk about one more underrated WrestleMania, and I know we're going to talk about this moment because we have previously. WrestleMania 18. I want to talk about the moment first. The Rock versus Hollywood Hulk Hogan, and it's not they're looking both ways and they're like the crowd's going nuts. It's them booing the Rock after he kicks out of the leg drop.
Mm-hmm.
And then Rock goes full heel. For me, that was unbelievable.
It was. And, you know, they took that by the feel of the crowd.
Yes.
I don't believe that part was scripted. I believe Rock looked at Hogan and said, they're cheering for you. I'm going to turn. I'm going to make you the full face in this.
It tells you how clever both men were.
Mm-hmm.
But it was so freaking unbelievable.
Yeah.
got a great comment here by Tigger. He says, that was the moment Hulk Hogan turned face and defected from the NWO. It was the right move to do that double turn.
I completely agree there. However, eventually that turned into being Hogan becoming Mr. America.
Yes, because he was the what was the entrance music, the guitar, but Lenny and Kravitz song. Voodoo Child. Is it Voodoo Child?
Yeah.
He's coming out 2 weeks later with a red and yellow, and then all of a sudden he's doing a good run with the title. And then obviously, like you said, a year later after this, he's Mr. America and doing the lie detector test, and Zach Gower's one leg, and just fucking craziness.
No, the first time he removed the mask and kind of let everybody see that it was Hulk Hogan, even though Vince was saying that it wasn't, or that Vince was saying that it was, he was saying that it wasn't. He kind of gave everybody the peek. That was in Manchester, New Hampshire.
Shut up.
Yeah, I was there.
And he used that the next week, didn't he, to fire him?
Yeah.
Son of a bitch. So things happen at yours, isn't it? You either get almost set on fire or burn alive in the crowd. And then you see Hulk Hogan do something really fucking stupid.
And I also saw Undertaker versus Jeff Hardy in a ladder match.
Oh, yeah. I remember you telling me. I hate you for that. That is an underrated match, by the way.
Yes.
By the way, but Mr. America's best line to this day remains, "Are you a sick, perverted, power-hungry freak?" The best line in a lie detector ever. No, I'm not. Quickly before
the court papers determined that was a lie.
Oh man, who knew? Years later, everybody knew anyway. But years later, it actually come into like fruition. Oh man. I want to quickly go through this card before we end it, because we got into old man, or as CM Punk goes, an old man with dog food. The match card, 11 matches, RVD versus William Regal for the Intercontinental title. That is underrated. People do not talk about that much as they should, because that was a fucking banger.
I mean, people don't give the respect to William Regal that he deserves. He could work with anybody. Rob Van Dam could work with just about everybody. Putting them together, it made magic.
I think William Regal, like you said, could work with anybody in ring and out of the ring. I think it's a perfect example of what he did as a commissioner, but what he did in AEW with the Blackpool Combat Club proves that he could work with anyone.
Yep, absolutely.
Your boy DDP versus Christian. That's a good match.
Yeah.
Maven, we love a bit of Maven on there, versus Goldust for the hardcore title. I think Maven said on his own YouTube podcast he missed the fucking drop kick.
Yeah.
So, and he still talks about it to this day. So fair play to him. Undertaker versus Ric Flair.
Mm-hmm.
However, we saw one of the greatest spine busters of all time with Arn Anderson onto Undertaker. That is beautiful. The legendary shampoo commercial feud, Booker T versus Edge. Stone Cold versus Scott Hall.
Yeah.
I agree. Do you think Scott Hall did the best stunner cell apart from The Rock?
It's up there. My personal favorite, though, is Santino.
Yeah. Well, with the salute.
Yeah.
William Regal is the definition of a technical professor, but would you say Charlie Dempsey fits more with the tough guys and a spoiled girl in Ariana Grace, or with a pair of cheeky girls, with a pair of Kiki girls, as in the NQCC. Oh, I know you don't watch much of the present wrestling, but I like him with Birthright.
I do get to catch NXT, since it's on at like 8:00, and I watch at least like half of it. I like what they're doing with him in the Birthright. I think he fits in well with tough guys, because you got to think William Regal is one of the toughest guys you could think of.
Oh yeah,
and Charlie is a chip off the block.
I want to say he has a match at the Josh Bennett Blood of Sport. I want to say he's got a match with Timmy Thatcher. I could be wrong with this, but I think he does.
I think you're right. I remember hearing something about it.
But if that's the case, I love watching him. I watched him in UK. Guys, I'm fucking believable, and I think he's right there with the Birthright. I think he will definitely win at least the North America title if he stays with the Birthright, and they do him well.
Yep.
My favorite gay couple at the time, Billy and Chuck versus APA and the Dudley Boys and the Hardy Boys.
Well, if they were your favorite gay couple at the time, who's your favorite gay couple now?
I was actually going to say fucking Scissor Me, but no. If the gay couple, who's the one that no showed on the fucking AEW? Tegan Knox and her girlfriend, or her future wife.
Okay.
That's my favorite gay couple.
Okay.
I had to pop that in my head. Jazz versus Lita versus Trish. That's not a bad triple threat. I thought that was a good match.
Yeah.
But I think this is an underrated main event because of The Rock and Hogan. But Jericho versus Triple H, I thought was a really good match. But obviously, because of the hype of The Rock and Hogan, I just thought, it's kind of what happened with them with WrestleMania 25 when Undertaker and Shawn just overtook it, and every other match after that was just dead.
Yeah. I think that's kind of a situation where, you have to strategize where you're going to put specific matches.
Yeah.
Like if you know Shawn versus Taker is going to be a banger, put that on last. Make that the main event.
Well, I think they were pissed off they were on 5th, and they were right, we're going to do a fucking banger now.
Yeah.
I think they made the mistake again this. I know we don't talk about current, but I think they made a mistake about this next weekend's WrestleMania. They put Obafemi and Brock Lesnar on first on night 2. That's gonna fucking be better than a lot on that card.
I was saying, last week? They should put that on first, night 1.
Yes, to make
set the standard for the whole weekend. Make everybody after them try to one-up them.
Yeah. And they put the 6-man tag as night 1 beginner. So you can tell what the rest of it is going to be like.
Yeah.
All right. Let's put a chapter on this one. Close the book on this one. I think it was really cool to look back at all the WrestleManias. I think what was underrated, the matches and moments. We got a couple of special episodes, I think, coming on soon. Next, one of the bonus episodes, as I advertised on our social media, we're going to rebook WrestleMania 9 on the request of Steve.
Yes, because in my opinion, WrestleMania 9 was the worst WrestleMania.
Whoa.
And they had such a deep roster at that point. There's so many other things they could have done with it.
By the way, he wants to reboot this because he is obviously a massive Bret Hart mark. He does not like Hogan going over on this one.
Yep.
Especially that 3 months later, he fucked off. After also during this, we have Who is the Marty? in the tag teams, which I think Steve is really looking forward to.
I am so excited for this one. We're going to discuss tag teams, and we are going to discuss who is the Sean, who is the Marty.
Yes, and I think we might get heat with this episode.
Oh, I'm hoping we get heat with it.
Also, as it's WrestleMania month, we will be talking about WrestleMania 17 in one of the episodes, breaking that down. And I do think by then we're just ending April, going into May, and then in May, I think it's AEW month
I do believe you're correct.
because it's Double or Night and one of their bigger pay-per-views.
Yep.
So yeah, we got a lot to cover, a lot of bonus episodes popping up, and yeah, I'm more afraid of the Marty Jannetty episode than anything, especially when we go through a lot of the tag teams. Like when I mentioned the Dudleys, who the fuck is going to take the Marty Jannetty out of that?
I guess you guys are going to have to wait and see.
Exactly. I say this all the time. Where can people find you if they can find you?
And I say this all the time. You can find me on Facebook under my government name, Steve Akins. You can find me on Instagram under So Many Tragedies. Find me on X under pedigree_Steve. You can try to find me on TikTok. If you do, let me know what my name is. And if you can't find me, then it wasn't meant to be.
And that's going on a t-shirt. You can obviously find Wrestling Pedigree on YouTube, Wrestling Pedigree 92, and Instagram, Wrestling Pedigree 92. You can find us as we are live on YouTube and Facebook, and also on my X account, which is Matty W frickin' A. You can also find us on TikTok and our WhatsApp channel where we got in trouble with WWE, but fuck them. With that, we got Ross Report next week. We got a couple of watch-alongs next week on Monday, Tuesday, and Friday for WWE. Wrestling Pedigree podcast will be back midweek because obviously we got a very busy weekend next weekend. And with that, we look forward to seeing you next week and enjoy professional wrestling.
And don't be a dick.